What's up guys? In this video, we're going to be discussing what skills you need to be training to level up your poker performance. Now, as I've shooting this video, we're just coming to the end of 2021, which is a great time to reflect on how the year has gone for you and to set new goals and targets for the year ahead. Now, as a poker player, it's really important to be thinking about how can you improve. All right, one of my jobs as a mindset and performance coach is to help players get to that next level, whatever that next level is for you. And to get there, you always have to be thinking, what skills do I need to improve? All right, what skills can I train and get better at so that I have a better chance of achieving my goals? And today I'm going to share with you 8 skills that are highly effective for helping poker players to get to that next level. I've just spent the last 8 weeks coaching 10 players through these 8 skills, and they've all had amazing results and improving their poker careers. All right, so today, imagine this middle of the circle is the goal that you've set for yourself. All right, it could be a financial goal, it could be moving up stakes, it could be creating freedom for yourself, whatever it is for you. These 8 skills will almost certainly help you to get to that outcome. All right, and I think often in life we get very confused by overcomplicated things, and in reality we just need to take a step back and think of, where am I trying to get to and what skills do I need to level up to get to that objective? All right, if we can simplify our life in those terms and we can build a system to train the skills that are correlated to performance, we're off to the races. All right, so hopefully after watching today's video, you have a great idea on some skills that you can be training. You can obviously create your own skills outside of this video, but it'll give you a good framework for how to dissect what you should be working on and how to improve going forward. All right, so I'm gonna share with you 8 skills to improve for elite poker performance. And the first skill, all right, so remember the middle could be the goal of any sort. The first skill to train is self-awareness. All right, I'll write it down now. Self-awareness. Now, self-awareness is the first skill for me because it encompasses so much, all right? It gets very clear on where you're trying to get to. It gets very clear on who you need to be to achieve your goals in terms of your identity and your character traits. It highlights your belief systems in terms of things that are blocking you and holding you back. And you get clear on your values and the things that are most important to you. So when I work players through self-awareness, I get very clear on their current situation. What programming they have, what belief systems they have. So think for yourself, what conditioning through your life experiences have led you to this very moment? And in what ways are you limiting yourself? All right, get really clear on the belief systems that are holding you back currently. We all have them. No matter where you are in life, there's a very good chance if you're struggling to get to the next level or struggling to progress towards a goal, there's some form of limitation there, all right? We're not going to do a whole coaching session on exploring your limiting beliefs, but the first thing is getting very clear on where you are and what's holding you there. You then, in the self-awareness phase, start to make progress by thinking about where do you want to get to, all right? And I call this creating a new identity, all right? The players I work with, I get them to create a very good image of who they want to be, all right? Very often we get very caught up in outcomes, making money, getting the house, getting the certain objectives, but I don't approach my goals like that or with the players I work with. I always approach it from, who do you need to be? What version of yourself needs to start showing up? All right, so you get this clear identity, and then from there, you build certain character traits. All right, so for example, say if I want to be a high stakes poker player, I get very clear on what it would look like for me, myself, to be a high stakes poker player. How would I show up every day? All right. I then start to think of character traits I need to develop in order for that to be true. All right. So most likely, I'm gonna have to build good study habits. I'm gonna have to grind long hours. I'm gonna have to cultivate discipline. I'm gonna have to manage my energy levels. A lot of the skills that we're gonna cover today actually will go into that model. But you develop certain character traits. All right. And your character traits are not fixed. All right. Whether you've been the laziest person in the world and you've always procrastinated, that's just a character trait, and you can upgrade your character anytime. All right, this is one of the most exciting things I love about coaching is showing players they can upgrade their character and they become a new version. All right, so if you want to start the new year with a bang, first step is to identify what's been holding you back so far, what are your limiting beliefs, what's your new identity you want to step into, and what character traits do you want to start forming. All right, you then need to create a whole system on how to live in alignment with those character traits. All right, but first step, without going too deep, this could be a whole video in itself. Self-awareness, all right? Identify what's holding you back and where you're trying to go to, all right? Always, if you're ever stuck, start there. Start there with your progress. All right. Once you've got that clear, you know who you want to be, you know what's been holding you back, you can then go on to skill number 2 of this process, which is emotional regulation. All right. Now, emotional regulation as a poker player is your ability to be in control and behind the steering wheel of your emotional states whilst in game. I call it regulate over control because it's so much more accurate of what we're trying to create. Control implies that we're squashing stuff or that we're manipulating stuff, whereas regulate allows you to either dial up positive emotions or dial down negative emotions. Now, one thing is for certain as a poker player, it's going to be a bumpy ride. By a bumpy ride, I mean you're going to get triggered a lot by your environment, and emotions are going to come up throughout sessions, all right? Unless you're some freak of nature I've not met before who has a different profile, most likely you're going to have to work through emotional issues. Now, the first thing in terms of regulating your emotions is you need to be very aware of what emotions you experience. What emotions do you personally experience? What things trigger you? Is it making mistakes? Is it bad beats? Is it regulars owning you? Is it fish getting lucky? Get very clear on what triggers you and what your emotions feel like, all right? Often we label things as like anger, frustration. We've got to go layer deeper and go, how does that feel in my body? All right, so to work on emotional regulation, write a list of all the things that trigger you, all the events that trigger you, all the events that cause an emotional reaction. Then write down how it makes you feel in your body. Does it make you feel hot, tense, frustrated, fidgety? How does it feel in your body? Then you need to go, how does it make my thoughts spiral? All right, how do my thoughts spiral? Very often we have a negative emotional state, say anger, for example. The mind gets very active, right? The mind and body have this bilateral relationship. So if the body's heightened in a negative emotion, the mind soon starts to tell stories or change its viewpoint based on that. All right, so we're very clear on what's going on. All right, the first step of regulating emotions: awareness, awareness, awareness. What the hell is going on and what meaning am I giving events? All right, so get very clear on the emotional responses in your body. You then need to know what actions you're taking as a result of those. All right, so for example, if I'm angry at the poker tables, that can play out a million ways. I could end my session because I'm angry. I could get very aggressive and start check raising my opponents and tilting up buy-ins. I could get very passive when I'm angry. Not as common, but you could get passive. Or I could start lashing out in my environment. I could be like, F this, F that, pushing, like I could just be very physical, all right? So get clear on how it's impacting you and what's the cost involved, all right? Is it a high cost thing? For example, if I just punch the table, that's not a big deal, not in my opinion, unless you break your hand. Generally, but if you're spewing off buy-ins and you're being very aggressive, that's gonna cost you more, all right? So get very clear, build a profile of what you're trying to deal with, all right? Then you need to get very good at understanding the reason why you act this way. Why do you act this way? And then one of the things I do with poker players and I really help them with is understanding your emotions are never wrong. Your emotions are never wrong, all right? Your emotions are getting triggered based on subconscious programs often, but they're responding to the environment and they're generally saying something isn't right here. Something that I care about is at stake. And very often it's as simple as this trigger is either like your basic filters are trying to say, is this environment safe or unsafe? Safe or unsafe? And if your emotional state is heightened, very often it's been tagged as unsafe. Now that isn't incorrect, all right? It might be slightly faulty in terms of the way it shows up in that situation, but the emotional response, we've got to get in tune with it, right? Get in tune with, okay, I'm responding this way. This is a normal reaction based on the meaning I'm giving this event. And then we've got to do a lot of work on this box I'm drawing here, which is the meaning, the label that I'm giving an event. So for example, if I make a mistake against a fish and I go, okay, no big deal, like just a mistake, and I don't label it, I move on quickly and my emotional state doesn't get compromised. If I, on the flip side, give the meaning of, I should know better, I'm an idiot for making a mistake, now I get a big emotional flare-up. All right, so we've got to understand the meaning that we're giving events and spend a lot of time reframing that, but basically getting very in tune with it. In tune with how you're feeling in your body and in tune with the meaning that you're giving events. All right, there's a whole process you can go through to override that, but emotional regulation is a non-negotiable as a poker player. If you don't learn to regulate your emotions, not away from the tables, like by that I mean, if you're very good in your personal life, you've got a good meditation practice, but then you go to the poker tables and you blow up, there's a big gap. There's a big gap. So when I talk about emotional regulation, I'm talking about the ability to play poker, the highest stakes you play, the ability to have downswings and bad results and still play good poker and still keep showing up and still be able to ride the wave of emotions. I'm not saying you won't have emotions. If anything, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying be able to experience emotions and to still perform well. All right, so you've got to learn that skill set. It's a trainable skill set you can learn. All right. Next one, once we've learned to regulate our emotions, we can start to look at a great performance skill, which is focus. All right. Sorry, focus. So focus is the ability to direct your attention where you want it to, and to hold your attention wherever you want it to for a long period of time. So direct and sustain. Now, in the modern world, most players and most people have problems with focus. Why is that? The problem comes because we spend a lot of our time distracted and we have scattered attention. All right, we're so used to responding to our phones and notifications. We're so used to having 5 or 6 things on our screens. As a result, we struggle to focus on one thing. And the reason is our minds, in all honesty, find it quite boring. If I can have focus on one thing compared to having 10 things, the stimulus coming in is less. So it becomes a boring from the mind's perspective, and we're going to train ourselves. Now, focus is like a superpower, all right? It's like almost like shining a laser beam. And every time you can heighten your focus on one thing, it almost magnifies what's in front of you, and more data points can come out. It's almost like higher pixelated. Once you can focus on it, it becomes higher pixelated. And more information comes from that situation. Now, as a poker player, I'm sure I don't need to sell you on the ability to focus and how beneficial it is, but the difference between the best players and often, like, say, the mid-stakes players is very often a difference in focus. Because focus is a superpower because it allows you to play your best poker and gain more information from the session. It allows you, when you're studying, to go deeper in a study spot. It allows you to basically gain more from each unit of time, in all honesty. All right? So the ability to focus needs to be trained. And you can train that both away from the tables and at the tables. All right? So one of the easiest ways to train your focus skill is for a daily meditation practice, where you'll bring your attention back to something like the breath. I always do it in the nostrils, so in breath at the nostrils, out the nostrils. I continually watch the mind wander into thoughts and bring it back. Mind wanders into thoughts, bring it back. Why does that help me at the poker tables? Why is that going to help you become a better poker player and to focus for longer? Because the same skill as when you're grinding. All right, so when I'm meditating or you're meditating, the mind will drift off into thought, and your goal is to bring it back to this focal point. All right, so it's going to get distracted and you bring it back. So then imagine you're at the poker tables and you're trying to focus on a poker hand, and your mind drifts off to, what am I going to eat later? Or you start drifting off thinking about a hand you just played previously. Your goal is to watch the mind try to drift there and bring it back. All right, and if you can train yourself outside the game with meditation, you can actually train that skill set. All right, you can also train your focus in game. Every single session should be an opportunity to train your focus. All right, in the way I just said, when your mind drifts off at the tables, you give it a focal point and you can bring your attention back. All right, bring your attention back. All right, but it's got to be trained. Focus is a muscle, like doing bicep curls in the gym. Every time you bring your focus back to the object of what you're trying to focus on, that's a bicep curl for the brain. Your mind will almost always drift off at some point, unless you're some really advanced Zen-like monk. Your mind will drift off at certain periods, almost certainly. All right. Your goal is not to stop that process. Your goal is to identify it, to spot it, and bring it back. All right. Don't worry that the mind wanders. Bring it back. Bring it back. All right. By doing that, you strengthen your focus muscle, and over time, you'll notice your performance increases. You'll notice your win rates go up a lot. You'll notice you play your best poker when you're highly focused. All right. So train that muscle every single day. Then the fourth skill you need to be training is resilience. Now, resilience is the ability to return to your emotional and physical default state as quickly as possible. All right, so what that means is something happens, say at the poker tables, you get annoyed, you get frustrated, you have a heightened emotional response. Your level of resilience is how quickly you return back to your baseline state as if it never happened. All right, now if you're tilting and you're getting angry for an hour or even a day off a couple of ends of tables, that would be a low resilience score. You're not able to recover emotionally from what's happening. On the flip side, if you're able to recover in seconds, bad beats, okay, back next hand, you have a very high resilience, all right? And what you find is you have different levels of resilience based on the situation you're in, based on what's happened previous to it, And yeah, based on a lot of different variables around what's unique to the situation. All right. Also, outside factors like maybe a bad night's sleep, or you're just being tired in general, or you've been stressed out from something unrelated, can also impact how resilient you are in the moment. But the goal as a poker player is to realize every time I go to play poker, in some way, I'm almost like going into battle. All right, I need to like armor up because it's going to be volatile. My opponents are literally trying to take money from me every single hand. They're trying to come after me and beat me or whatever. And it's going to feel like a hostile environment at times, especially when you're losing. And rather than you think you want things not to be that way, so most players would go, I just want things to be easier. I want to keep winning. I don't want to have to get bad results. Great if you can achieve that with the magic wand, but in reality, poker's always going to be volatile. You're always going to have some bad results. You're always going to have setbacks. So as a result, you need to get good at recovering from those. And resilience is going to link very well into emotional regulation. All right, so because if you can regulate your emotions well, you can gain resilience. Now, one thing to note with resilience as well is if you build a resilient body, you very often build a resilient mind. I'll say it again. If you build a resilient body, you very often build a resilient mind. All right, because the same obstacles approach both the body and the mind. If I want to overcome myself, for example, let's say I'm in the gym and I want to push myself harder than I pushed myself in the past, at some point my mind is going to say, this is too hard, this is too hard. And I need to push myself past that. I need to push myself past that obstacle, and my body then trains itself to increase its baseline, increases the level of tolerance for stress, pain, adversity. Same with the mind. When you learn to recover from adversity, when you learn to bring yourself back to a centered place over and over, you're able to take on more stress going forward. So my perspective of resilience is you don't want to be a sheltered person who almost like lives in a glass house and hopes things don't go wrong. You want to almost like step into the war zone knowing that I can handle it. If I go to downswing today, I can handle it. If I lose 10 buy-ins in the first hour, I can handle it. All right, so you need to train your resilience skill set. All right, I use loads of concepts from the Stoics, the Greek Stoics or the Roman Stoics. They've got amazing ways of building a resilient mind. All right, I'm not going to go into those today, but resilience is a really, really key skill set, and you need to build it. And you can tell how resilient you are by how quick you recover from adversity. All right, so if you're somebody who takes lots of days off because you're stressed or burnt out, you'll most likely have resilience to work on. If you're someone who's very bulletproof, by bulletproof I mean you show up every day, very regimented, put your hours in at a high level, you're probably very resilient. All right, so judge it by your ability to come back to the tables at a high level and how much breaks and recovery you need. All right, sometimes people need days, and that's a sign of resilience that needs to be worked on. All right, then we have skill number 5, which is perspective. All right, perspective is the ability to change the way you look at things. All right, it's a skill set because basically any situation can be good, bad, neutral. By that I mean the mind can label it good, bad, neutral. In my opinion, every event is neutral. All right. Now, if you get good at perspective, you get very, very good at looking at every situation from a lens of it starts neutral, and then you go, how can I look at this from a good lens that's going to help me to better handle this situation. All right, so let's use an example. Let's say I'm on a downswing, all right, and I label a downswing bad. Let's say I've got no perspective skills and I label it as bad. I look at my day results and I've lost 10K, and I'm like, this is the worst, I'm losing, life sucks, this is really bad. All right, my perspective is very zoomed in, and as a result I'm telling myself a story about how bad things are. All right, I start off with a negative label. How long is it going to take me to get out that downswing? Probably quite a while. I'm going to be frustrated going to the next session. I might take a day off. It's going to be a cascade of events because my perspective of the situation is bad. All right. Now, picture exactly the same person. He's lost the exact same money. He's in the same situation. He didn't label it good, didn't label it bad. He started neutral. He goes, all right, this is poker. I've lost 10 buy-ins. Now, he goes, instead of going straight to negative and looking at his bank account and stressing out how much money he's lost, he decides, I'm going to look for a positive angle. I'm going to look at how I can see the situation from a positive lens. So the first thing he does is he zooms out from his day results and looks at his week results. Not better, break-even week, could have been better. Then he zooms out and looks at his month results. Month's looking solid, good win rates. And then he zooms out and looks at his year results. He now says, actually, this year I'm doing pretty well. The last month I'm doing okay, I'm doing well for the year. He now says that actually, it was only a bad session. Because we've got perspective to put that one session into the perspective of time and realize, it wasn't a big deal. If he can do this in real time, like in real time, I mean like as it's happening, the 10K loss in that situation won't even be a factor. You won't have to consciously think about it because his mind's already thinking of other things. Now, this person who's trying to look for the zoomed out vision and trying to put it into a better context, how much more likely is he to move past that obstacle? A lot, right? Even though they're both in the same situation, we could argue that both are right. One who's labeled it as negative and it's the worst thing ever, or the other guy who's labeled it as one event relative to his sample size. They both can be right depending on their lens. However, the guy who's got the skills perspective chose the right lens. He chose the right lens. By that I mean you put on a filter of what you want to see life that helps you move forward. Now, it's not about being delusional. It's not about manipulating life so it doesn't appear how it is. It's about understanding life is neutral. I will see what I look for, and I'm going to train myself to see the perspective that is going to help me to move forward. All right, it's one of the most powerful skills. I still, to this day, get amazed at how many situations the skill of perspective works for. It works for almost anyone. If you can change the way you look at the situation, it will change. All right, let's say you're on the worst downswing of your life. Let's say it's been a year long downswing, and you're on the verge of breaking down. All right, now imagine you had a very good perspective skill, and you framed this whole year as the biggest growth period of your life. You would learn so much about yourself. You built so much resilience. You built so much mental toughness. Your game has improved so much over this year. You've got no results for it. You're on a year-long downswing. That part sucks, but you've improved so much. You needed to go through this to get the next level. This was essential, and you've gained so much from that process. Imagine how much that perspective skill, imagine how much that would change how you feel about a situation, and more importantly, how you show up in that situation. It would change a lot, wouldn't it? All right, so the skill perspective is huge, and it needs to be worked on consistently to constantly reframe situations at least neutral, but often how it's working in your benefit. All right, and skill number 6 is presence. Presence, which is the ability to be in the moment, in the here and now. All right. Now, this has been one of the most fun modules for me to work through players with. I've got all of these skills that I coach players through, and this one really highlighted a lot of problems that players were going through. And the way I break down presence is to think about 2 different mindsets. All right. And one mindset is called the trainer mindset, and it's very active. It's judging, it's critiquing, it's calculating. And as a poker player, this is the mindset you're in most of the time. All right, you're trying to figure out how to spot to play, how to play your strategy better. You're just always thinking. All right, and that's great when you're studying. It's great when you're playing, so when you're trying to improve your strategy. However, when you're playing poker, you want to be present. All right, you want to be in the moment, and I call this the performance mindset. Now, when you're there and you're very present, your mind isn't super active. All right, your mind is actually very clear. It's very empty. All right, and you're able to be instinctive, intuitive in the actual moment. Now, when I was working through the skill set with players, most players, this was a new concept to them, and for most players, they struggled to think about, how do I switch the mind off? How do I stop myself thinking in game? I understand it's beneficial, but how do I get my mind less active? All right, you've got to train yourself over and over by priming yourself to get into a performance mindset and switch it off. Very interesting. Just recently, I saw Steph Curry, who's an NBA basketball player, just broke the 3-point record, so the most 3 points in an NBA career. And there's a little video, like a little 1-minute video I saw, like a kind of motivational Nike advert, I think it was. And the question was, what do you think of before you take a shot? What do you think of before you release the ball? And the whole video is like kind of build up this dramatic narrative, and it ends with, I don't think of anything. I don't think of anything. And it's so true, because why? He's very present. He's in the performance mindset, and he's trusting himself to make that shot. Why can he do that? How does that work? It works because he's put so many thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of practicing. When it comes to performing, so when it comes to executing the skill, the mind needs to be empty and just perform. All right. So as a poker player, all your thinking, all your critiquing, all your judging, amazing. Study away like crazy and do all that stuff. But when it comes to performing at a high level, that needs to be shut off. You need to make a transition into the performance mindset, all right? Into a quiet, clear, empty, intuitive, trusting mindset that has confidence in what you're doing, all right? And that takes a big jump, and for a lot of players, they need to progress to that, but having that ideal standard to work towards and challenge yourself to give yourself the opportunity. So when I coach players for this process, first of all, I tell them they need to accept that they're going to make mistakes, regardless of what happens. They need to trust in themselves to make whatever plays come up in the moment. They need to maintain confidence even when things go their way, and they need to refrain from judgment. All right, so at the end of the session, they can mark every spot, they can judge everything, they can critique it, but in game, just play it, just grind. All right, it's a transition that you need to go through. All right, but presence is a great skill to work on, and being in the moment and transition into this performance mindset. All right, the next skill, so these 6 skills, I call these skills of the mind. All right, they're all very mental skills. All right, the next 2 skills, skill 7 and 8, are of the body. All right, they're more of the body. I'll explain why. So skill 7, stress mastery. Stress mastery. Now, this is the ability to be in a high stress environment, such as poker, and to bring your best performance to the tables no matter what. Now, most people have a very negative connotation of stress. They also have a very negative relationship with stress. They think it's this bad thing to get rid of. All right, when in reality, stress is a physical response in the body when something that you care about is at stake. All right, physical response in the body when something you care about is at stake. It could be your life in terms of a kind of predator-prey scenario. It could be your bankroll in terms of money on the line. It could be your goals, whether you're moving forward or away from your goals, but something on the line matters. I get the stress response because my body's priming me to handle the situation in front of me. And what you find when you go deep into stress, the body's trying to help you. The stress response is a beneficial tool that actually helps you perform better. All right. Now, what you need to realize is it's on the stress scale. It's a kind of U curve, inverted U curve. All right, or bell curve they call it. All right. So when the middle point, so I'm just drawing it here on my finger. This middle point is this kind of peak zone, right? This kind of peak performance zone. And if you're in that, you perform very, very well. All right. And when it comes to stress, you want to be activated, but not too activated. If you get too activated, you start dropping down the end of the curve and your performance starts to drop off. All right, so you need to train yourself over time to be able to stay in this high activation zone for longer and longer. You need to widen the amount of stress you can handle. All right, a lot of players and a lot of people think the goal with stress is to lower it so you can manage more. Great if you want to have a very mundane life, but if you want to perform at a high level, that's not the goal. The goal is to be able to widen your range of tolerance for stress so you can take on more and more. It's like being a $200 egg who's stressed at the buy-ins that you're playing. Okay, if you want to keep playing there, just play 100s or play a $50 game so you're not stressed about the money. Is that the goal? No, you want to be someone who can play a 10K or a 20K game and still be able to handle that, handle the kind of stress that comes with it. So we need to get good at understanding that the body and the mind, although they're bilateral relationship and they're kind of talking back and forth, we can be very heightened in the body and very calm in the mind. Heightened in the body, calm in the mind. What the hell does that mean, Adam? All right, it means that I can be at the poker tables and I can have a stressful reaction to an event. All right, so that means cortisol spikes in my body, adrenaline pumps through my body. Those things are actually sending more blood flow around the body and they're preparing me to play at a high level and to play better, all right, or to prepare me for the challenge that's in front of me. The mind, for most people in that situation, would freak out. It go, oh, I'm stressed, I'm angry, I'm annoyed, and starts making the problem worse and creates this very, almost negative connotation with those states. However, if I could train my mind to realize when the body is heightened, this is a good thing. This is awesome. This is like Michael Jordan, if you guys have watched The Last Dance. This is my body preparing me to perform at a high level. Awesome, bring it on. Oh, stress, awesome. Something on the line, something I care about is at stake. Let's bring it on. All right, I want this stress, I want this feeling. We can train the mind to be not only calm during this stress scenario, but to be heightened. To be heightened, alert, and calm. And that's the goal. All right, so stress mastery is the ability to be in high stress scenarios. The body is still fueled, the mind is calm. So imagine this, you're going to public speak in front of 2,000 people. Even if you've public spoke 100 times, 1,000 times, you're gonna have a similar reaction in the body, all right? Cortisol spike, adrenaline spike, almost everyone will get that reaction. However, if you're good at public speaking, you'll be able to feel that and you'll go, all right, this is my body preparing me to speak and do a good job. The mind, although it's heightened, there's been a bit of nervousness there, it's calm. It can still communicate. It's actually at a heightened activation level, which will get you to perform better. All right. Now, one of the ways to train this is to train your physical reactions and to keep the mind calm. All right. So one thing I do every day I do it 4 times a week. I jump into an ice cold plunge pool. All right. It's about 1 or 2 degrees. It's super cold. All right. Every time I jump into that water, my body has a stress response. Cortisol, adrenaline, and all the standard stress stuff. that wants me to jump out instantly. I instantly want to retract and go out of the water. However, I keep the mind calm by controlling my breathing. And when I keep the mind calm, very soon, I feel comfortable. I feel comfortable, my response to my body is the same, but my mind stays calm. All right, so we can train them away from poker, but we need to get good at mastering the stress response and realizing to achieve good results in poker and to play high stakes in particular, we need to master the stress response. And the final skill to train is energy optimization. All right. We need to have the energy to go after our goals. Most people fail in life at their goals and trying to pursue stuff because they run out of steam. They run out of energy. They just can't keep pushing long enough to get the results they want. As a poker player, it's draining. You gotta study long hours. You gotta grind long hours. It's a consistent process for often many years to get to the real outcomes that you want to. And if you don't have the energy, guess what? You quit. You quit when you run out of energy. So energy optimization is understanding the system. When I teach players this concept, I go, right, your body, your mind is a system, all right? And if you want to have more energy, you need to understand the energy system and how to create more, all right? So there's certain things that give you more energy and there's certain things that take energy, all right? So the body is going to fuel itself, whatever you put in your body, generally food sources and supplements. Your body is using that fuel source to produce energy in simple terms, all right? So we need to fuel ourselves with the right stuff. So we need the right approach to nutrition. We need to also optimize the systems in the body, all right? I won't go too deep on this, but basically using exercise as a tool so that your cardiovascular system and your lungs are able to shuttle energy, ATP, around the body in an efficient way. And then we also need to recover, all right? We need a recovery process, all right? So in its core essence, we've got nutrition, we have exercise, and we have recovery protocols, including sleep, that are gonna help us to be more energized. Now, if we don't spend work here, there's a very good chance as a poker player, your lifestyle is gonna hold you back, all right? You're gonna be doing things that you basically have your body working against you. You're trying to be alert and play good poker, but your body's got the wrong hormones pumping through it. You're not alert and focused because your energy is compromised, all right? However, once you spend a bit of time on this, and the players I'm working with right now are loving this module, this is one of the game changers because this fuels everything. Imagine you woke up and you had a 10 out of 10 level of energy. How would your day go? You don't even need to tell me, I know it's gonna go great, all right? On the flip side, imagine you crawl out of bed and you've got 3 out of 10 energy. How's your day gonna go? Now you need a lot of willpower, a lot of discipline, a good plan in place, very good willpower to keep going. And if you're lucky, you might get an average day out of yourself. You might get a good day if you're super, super driven that day. But in reality, it's tough, right? It's tough for all of us. When your energy's low, life is hard. So you need to create a system to optimize your energy so that every day is at least an 8. All right, that's the goal. Every day is at least an 8. And you can do that by systemizing all the inputs. All right, so this is gonna be a long video, so I'm gonna try and wrap it up somewhat soon. We've got 8 skills to train for elite poker performance. All right, we've got self-awareness, your ability to know what's holding you back and where you're trying to go to. We've got emotional regulation, your ability to be able to stay in complete control of your emotional states whilst at the tables, upregulate your positive emotions, downregulate your negative ones, and understand that relationship between trigger and response. We've got focus, the ability to direct your focus where you want it and hold it for long periods. We've got resilience, the ability to bounce back from adversity in the short term and the long term so you can continue to progress your goals. Perspective, your ability to choose what lens you look through. And often you start with the neutral and you want to see everything as how it's helping me. What's the positive lens I can see the situation that's moved me forward, all right? Compared to the opposite, where most people label good, bad, and as a result, they can't get moving forward, all right? So mastering your ability to see the lens you want to see, all right? Then presence is the ability to quiet enough. It's the Steph Curry being able to shoot a 3-point with an empty mind, thinking of nothing. How the hell do you think of nothing whilst you're shooting a 3-point? You become present, all right? You become very still. You become very in tune with what you're doing, all right? This takes time, but what you need to know about this performance mindset, all right? I've got a whole video on this you guys can check out as well if you want to go deeper on that one. All right, then we've got skills of the body, stress mastery, your ability to be in heightened activation states in the body because you're playing poker, it's stressful, and being okay with that. Not only being okay with that, but performing better because you're in a heightened activation state, all right? Again, comfortable widening your range of stress that you can take. And then energy optimization, your ability to fuel your body, your mind and body with the right supplements, nutrition approaches, exercise approaches, recovery processes, so that you're always feeling at least an 8 out of 10. All right, it's definitely achievable. All right, you made it your day where things go wrong, but this energy shouldn't be left to chance. All right, I know a lot of poker players like, yeah, some days I'm good, some days I'm bad. Okay, your energy optimization system isn't good. It's not, hasn't been optimized. All right, it's like a car. Imagine you're going to drive a car, and just one day it doesn't start, and the next day it does start, and the day after it doesn't start. At some point you go, all right, this car is not working the way it should do. I need to go and see a mechanic to fix the car so it works every day. All right, it's the same with your body and your energy. You should have ample energy to pursue your goals. Every day you should be full of energy to go after what you want. All right, so these are the 8 skills that I work with players to train. There are many skills you could probably come up with yourself, I'm sure, with your technical game as well. You'll go through your own profile, but these are the 8 skills that lead to elite poker performance from my experience of working with hundreds of players now over the last few years. Now, I've got some exciting news to announce to you that these 8 skills I'm going to be coaching 10 players through in mid-January. All right, so it's the Poker Athlete Program. I've just finished the first batch and got amazing results with the players I've worked through. And what happens is every week we pick a skill. Well, we go for the skills 1 to 8 in order, and we work through that skill for the whole week. All right, we assess you before you start the skill, what your current level is for that skill. We then train that skill together with coaching, group coaching, and assessments and training. And then at the end of the week, you reassess your skill to see how much you've improved that skill set. So every week we do a skill together. It's a group coaching environment. It's amazing assessments and training programs to go with each coaching module. And at the end result, you'll have 8 skills that you've now optimized to an elite level, or at least a much higher level. And then after the 8-week program, we continue to train these skills together as a little group. All right. Now, if you want the opportunity to be one of my next poker athletes, just click on the link in the description, fill out the application form, and I'll be in touch with the next steps. All right, guys, that's all for today's video. Smash that thumbs up button before you go. There's plenty more coming from me very soon.